to the vice president, to multiple people. It was a combination, political assassination, but also death in the family type event, and it was shocking to a lot of people to see. Apart from the tragedy of it for him and for his family and for the nation, really, is the irony. Charlie was one of the few people out there that was actually engaging what we need more of, and that is debate and conversation among people with strong disagreements. People know Charlie Kirk because of his role on campuses. He would go on college campuses, and he would actively seek out and invite people who strongly disagreed with him to come to the microphone and engage in a back and forth. The alternative to the back and forth is to just attack each other. It's very easy to just do podcasts and just do interviews and give speeches where you attack the other side. It's much harder to engage people whose views are diametrically opposed to yours and engage them in a debate. And he did that. But he didn't just do that on college campuses, because that's what he was best known for. He did that online as well. Charlie was a frequent guest on the podcasts and on the shows of people who he did not agree with. And he had guests on his show that he did not agree with. He was actually a guest on Gavin Newsom's podcast and engaged in debate with the Young Turks, and as well as going around the world engaging in some of these lecture series with people from the other side. And I don't even say the other side of the aisle, other side of ideological divides, because sometimes it wasn't just partisan. And to see someone who was engaged in what we need more of assassinated in the process of doing exactly that, because that's where he was assassinated. He was assassinated in the middle of that kind of discourse. I think was an effort not simply to silence Charlie's voice, but I think is an effort to intimidate and silence that kind of effort in America. And I think for the world, to engage in that kind of discourse with people you disagree with. And once a society loses the ability of people with strong disagreements to engage in discourse, then the only option you're left with is either silence or violence, neither one of which is acceptable. Both are very destructive.
Let's take from the foreign press. So let's
Thank you. Tom Bateman from BBC News. First of all, Mr. Secretary, you have very vocal anger from Arab countries, your Gulf allies, over the Israeli strike last week, accusing Israel of barbarism in their words. Isn't this a crisis now for American diplomacy? And how are you going to assure your Gulf allies, as the President says, that this won't happen again? And Mr. Prime Minister, can you give us your assessment of whether last week's attack did actually kill any of the Hamas leadership in the building? And in Gaza City, with tower blocks being destroyed every day, dozens dead daily, are you simply using the civilian population of Gaza as a means to apply pressure on Hamas?
Well, let me begin with a question you asked me, and that is, we have strong relationships with our Gulf allies. We work very closely with them on a number of things. We've been engaged with them. We've been engaged with them consistently before what happened and after what happened. And ultimately, the point we will make to everybody is that some fundamentals still remain that have to be addressed, irrespective of what has occurred. The reality of it is we still have 48 hostages. We still have a Hamas that is not only holding 48 hostages, they're holding Gaza hostage, and they're using civilians as human shields. There's still a dangerous element, and as long as they exist, as long as they're around, there will be no peace in this region, because they are not agents of peace, they are agents of barbarism. And it's still a fundamental fact that the people of Gaza deserve a better future, a future which is not possible until the hostages are all released and Hamas no longer exists. All these fundamentals still exist. They all still have to be addressed. And that's what we're going to remain focused on as we engage with our allies in the Gulf, is how can we continue to work together to address those three things, which we think are pillars. Solving those are pillars of the broader construct I think all of us hope for the region.
There's immense cynicism and hypocrisy in the condemnation of Israel. After 9/11, the Security Council of the United Nations passed resolution 1373. And that resolution said that states must not harbor, give safe haven, finance, plan, or allow such actions for terrorists. It didn't say some actions in this part of the world, or some nations cannot do it in this part of the world, but they can do it in another part of the world. And of course, the United States acted very boldly against the terrorist havens that were given to Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, the terrorist haven that was given to the chief terrorist, bin Laden, in Pakistan. Those countries that are condemning Israel today did not come and say, well, what a terrible thing was done. The sovereignty of Pakistan was violated. The sovereignty of Afghanistan was violated. You don't have such sovereignty when you are effectively giving a base to terrorists and a place where they can ply their gruesome trade. So it's the right of every country under international law to defend itself beyond its borders against those who would kill their citizens, murder them en masse. That is what guided Israel. What are we trying to do in Gaza? Where you say we're bringing down those towers to intimidate people? We're not bringing down those towers to intimidate people. Those towers are serving as Hamas strongholds. But what we're doing is we're telling the population, because we're going to take over and destroy the Hamas stronghold, they're one of the last two strongholds and the most important one that Hamas has left in the Gaza Strip. We ask you to leave. And what is Hamas doing? They're asking them to stay because they want to use them as human shields, as they've done from the beginning of the war. And we say, leave, please leave. Do leave, fast, and as fast as you can. And that's what we're doing right now. Hamas is telling them, Hamas is not only telling them, don't leave, but in previous occasions, including a few weeks ago, they shoot them. They shoot women and children in the legs, beginning with the legs, then they go higher if it doesn't work, to keep them in harm's way. So I think that to the extent that the world again is falsely condemning Israel, they should get their priorities and their facts right. It is Israel that is trying to clear the combat zones from civilians. It's Hamas that's trying to keep them in. So we'll continue to do what we can to make sure that they're out of harm's way, and we'll complete our mission, which is to free all our hostages, get them all back, and make sure that Hamas is eliminated.
And on the assessment of the impact of the strike, whether the leadership was killed in Doha?
Well, we're still getting the final reports. I'll tell you what the impact of the strike is. We sent a message to the terrorists. You can run, but you can't hide, and we'll get you.
And Abbas,